Okay, so we're going to powder coat this today, and this is just a dice. So what I did was, to start, I sanded it down so I have nice smooth surfaces. The whole thing has to be metal. If you need to use any kind of filler, it has to be a metallic filler. You can't use like a Bondo or any kind of plastic putty. And then we're going to wipe it down with alcohol so that our fingerprints don't affect it. And then I also made a little hook. Now the hook needs to be conductive because that's how the powder is going to stick to it. It's an electrostatic process, and you have to make sure that you have an area on here where there's going to be good conduction. So this is just going to go in a couple of holes here, and we're going to keep the part suspended on the hook the whole time. So you want to do it in a good spot. You don't want to try to hold it like on a corner where, you know, the laws of physics won't allow it to hold. You want to be able to hold it so that you can carry it out, put it in the powder coat oven, do the process, move it from there to the oven and bake it. So you want to hook it well. Okay, so this is our improvised spray booth, and basically there's only two purposes here. One is to keep most of the dust contained, and the second is to give us a place to hang our part. So some types of parts, like if you're only doing one side, you can just put them on the bottom and spray over it. But in the case of this, we need to get all around it. So we need to suspend it, and what I'm using as a hook here, I don't know if you can see it too well, but this is just a wire coat hanger that I snipped the ends off of, and it makes a really nice rotisserie because you can spray it and keep turning it around. It's also important that everything conducts. So on the coat hanger, they normally have like a yellowish coating, and you need to scrape that off with sandpaper or Scotch-Brite so that everything conducts. So anyway, so there's our part all suspended. This is the powder coat setup that we're going to use. Okay, it's a cheap powder coat gun. We're going to throw a little bit more powder in it. These tend to work best when they're about half full. When you buy them, they tend to be all full, and it doesn't actually atomize very well. Same thing, if they're too low, it doesn't pick it up. I usually go for right about in the middle. That works pretty well. Okay, now the powder does clump up a bit, especially when there's humidity, so once you have it loaded, it's good to kind of shake it up and break up the big clumps. That'll make it spray better. And then the last thing is we're just going to kick on the compressor. Okay. Yep. We're at about 20 psi. Okay, so the foot pedal, you have to turn on two things. First, you turn on the powder coat setup. The foot pedal is what actually energizes the high voltage supply and charges the part. If you start spraying right away, it doesn't stick very well. So what you actually want to do is step on the pedal for 5 seconds or so, give the part time to build up a good charge, and then the powder will stick to it pretty well. Okay, so we're just going to turn it around so we can get a good angle on the other side. And you don't want to hold the hanger or anything when it's energized because it will give you a little bit of a shock. Okay, step on the pedal again, give it a second to build up the charge, and you put it on. You actually apply it relatively thick compared to a liquid paint. Okay, and then I like to turn it around and make sure we got everything. Okay, on that side I'm going to go a little heavier. One of the things that's nice compared to liquid paint is you don't have to worry about runs. Once there's enough powder, it just sort of stops sticking, so you can't really overdo it. Now that the powder's on, it's barely on, so if you bump it or brush against it or even shake it too hard, it can come off. And if that happens, all you do is stick it back in and give it another dusting. It's no problem. So. Okay, and now we're just going to go straight to the oven. So basically we're doing this at 400 degrees. It's pretty forgiving. Anywhere between like 370 and 425 is okay. At the higher end it'll smoke and smell a little bit, but it works fine. It doesn't seem to harm the paint. I already checked this out with an infrared thermometer, and it's actually running very accurately. I did add a couple of hooks to the top surface, so we have lots of options for hooking things on. So basically I'm just going to reach in and hook this on somewhere. and then we just wait 20 minutes, and then we'll pull it out and let it cool, and then it'll be rock hard. Okay, so our part's been baking for about 20 minutes, and the process is pretty forgiving. If it stays in a little longer, that's fine. It doesn't really hurt anything. So we can see it, and if you look at the surface, we've actually got two parts in here now, and I don't know if it's going to show up or not. There's our piece that we did a while ago is finishing up, and if you look at it, you'll see it looks very slick. It looks kind of wet, and there's another part that we just put in that actually looks dusty, like it has chalk dust on it. And if you look at the surfaces, you can see the difference. But our part's done, so we're just going to go ahead and unhook it and pull it out. Okay, and then the final step is just hanging this somewhere where no one's going to get burned and it can just sit and cool off for 10 minutes or so. Basically, we let it cool for about 10 minutes, and that's our finished part. So the finish is very, very strong, looks great. The powder flows really evenly, so you don't have to worry about runs or drips or anything else. You also don't have to wait a couple of hours like you do with a sprayed-on finish. It's also easy to patch up, so if you needed to weld something on, you can just clean up the area and just recoat that one area with powder and bake it again. That's it.